If there's one thing that these franchises have going for them, it's definitely world building. Being able to meet new characters, cities, and in this case, even beasts to add to a beloved series that fans no doubt want to see more of. But with this being based off of such a short book, I wonder how the heck are they going to juice 5 movies out of a man practically catching wizardish Pokemon? However, considering the massive Potterverse that there is, and the fact that they brought back the same director of the last 4, the same producers, editors, and even the same coffee boy, it's definitely sticking to the magic people love. So let's get into the breakdown, the Easter eggs, and how that ending is going to open up a whole new world of stories. So of course, major fluffy size spoilers ahead. We meet Newt Scamander, mumbled elegantly by Eddie Redmayne, who's a magi zoologist in New York trying to rescue the magical beasts he connects with better than humans. However, while Newt's trying to capture mystical Harambes, the city itself is going through a tough election as well as building tensions between wizards and no-mages, aka muggles, aka regular, not special humans. One of the main issues with that is Colin Farrell's character of Graves, who is really Johnny Depp's character of Grindelwald, who, in the fastest recasting ever, is all about wizard superiority, while the Magical Congress of America aims to have unity. In other words, it's practically this Malcolm X versus MLK, a Magneto versus Xavier mentality. What they are all trying to do is stop this thing called an Obscurus, which is like a ghastly gone berserk. Some of it are doing it for unity, others are doing it to take advantage. Graves thinks he has a lead by using a guy named Credence, who he believes to be a squid with no powers, when in reality, he does, and he has the Obscurus. I'll add that with the previous activist connection and the fact that JK herself is a major activist, I personally see Ezra's story as being a metaphor for all those who are oppressed and told to not be themselves. And at a certain point, just like with the wizards and the no-mages, that pushes a person to their breaking point. If only someone would have just talked about Credence. Back to the story though, we see Graves give Credence a Deathly Hallows necklace, which for one is the coolest franchise Easter egg I've ever seen when you noticed how it was foreshadowed through all the movies before it was even revealed. And 2, here it plays out as our first tip-off as to who took a polyjuice potion and has been pretending to be Percival Graves, Johnny freaking Depp, because he just can't resist being in makeup. Credence gets killed, Grindelwald goes to jail, but we know he'll escape, and they fix everything Men in Black style as Newt's Thunderbird rains down on New York City. Except, for Jacob, who remembers, and, well, Shaw the Senator is still dead, so I'm guessing that a lot of people will still remember things, but all of that is for the sequel. There's obviously a lot of nods to the first 8 movies since, in case you missed it, this one takes place in the same universe, so we're bound to see Dumbledore, maybe Hogwarts, and perhaps even a baby Tom Riddle in future sequels. But the callbacks that stood out to me were references to Quidditch, when Newt is asked if he's a seeker, and he responds, nah, he's more of a chaser. The humongous Congress clock that we see seems to resemble the Weasley clock that is used to creepishly track their location for safety reasons. There's also a bunch of things dealing with relatives. Starting the timeline, this movie picks up in 1926, which is 70 years before we get to the Potter story, which happens in the 90s. By this time, Newt, who was expelled from Hogwarts, but still reps those Hufflepuff colors, has gone off to write a book. It is interesting to note that he was expelled for the same reason Hagrid was, and that's that they couldn't control their animals, or so they say. Newt will eventually publish Fantastic Beasts, which is a book Harry owns as a textbook, and will even have a grandchild who eventually marries Luna Lovegood, who, as we know, is just as curious as Newt is. We also see a photograph that gives us a nod to another family, with the mention of a character named Leta Lestrange. Considering she's being portrayed by Zoe Kravitz, I'm sure we'll be seeing more of her in future installments, but considering that she's called a taker by Queenie, it's no doubt that their relationship didn't end well, because, well, as we know, down the line, someone who marries into the Lestrange family kinda killed a lot of beloved characters. It'll be interesting to see Leta and Newt's backstory, especially since he mentions working with a Ukrainian Iron Belly, and that breed just so happens to help guard the vaults for the Lestrange family. On a quick side note though, did anyone else notice Queenie was played by a fine Frenzy, the girl who sings like the best breakup song of all time?
Goodbye, my almost lover. Goodbye, my
Tears every time. So now it's time for the big stuff. Starting off with the Obscurus, which seems to be a new concept that hasn't appeared before, but as noted by Screen Crush, it actually appears as the fictional publisher for the book, meaning JK has already had this idea in mind. This is pretty big because it might go hand in hand with what might really be the meat of this 5-film franchise: Dumbledore v. Grindelwald, Dawn of Lovers Gone Wrong. To back up from what is considered the ultimate wizard battle, let's break down how the two are connected. In Deathly Hallows, we got a bit of a backstory, as well as comments from JK herself, explaining that the two met very young and wanted to unify both worlds, maybe even tap wands or something, I don't know. Obviously, Grinny started seeing things more aggressively, friend zones our boy, and eventually an event occurs in where Dumbledore's sister Ariana dies. Now, the description we're given for Ariana's struggles sounds a lot like the Obscurus that took over Credence when he started suppressing his powers. Interestingly enough, both were also given similar speeches by Grindelwald, trying to persuade them to side with him. Obviously, none of that works out, and that leads to the ultimate face-off that they have, which fits perfectly as the finale to the 19-year span that the franchise wants to cover within the 5 films. So we'll for sure see a young Dumbledore appearing soon. A baby Voldemort should also be born eventually. We might see Hagrid expelled, the original Greys may still be alive and appear again, but Farrell's Dr. Parnassus co-star, who ironically shared the same character, is definitely going to appear a lot more. And while Depp has gotten very cartoony, I will say he does look a lot like the original Grindelwald. He may be able to pull off this romance/friend-zoning war, and if anything, just remember that he eventually gets it by Voldemort when he's visited in jail. Meanwhile, Newt may just be our eyes for the bigger story being told. Sweet Hufflepuff. Thank you guys for checking out this video, and as always, a big shout out to my Patreon supporters who for just $1 get their names at the end of every video. Thank you for you guys who checked out this video. I'm curious to know your favorite parts, your favorite Easter eggs, your favorite characters, or even your favorite film in what is almost going to be a 10-film franchise. Definitely let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section, and until next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you guys later.